Welcome to the Miami Red Devils official podcast, the Red Devils Advocate. I'm your host, Adam. I'm joined, as always, by the president we all can agree on, President Carter. Carter, how we doing?
Good, man. Good. It's been a long day, but I'm glad I get to talk to you guys.
Yeah, this will be fun. And longtime Manchester United supporter and Miami Red Devil, Gerard G. Williams. G, how we doing, my man?
Living good, my boy. How we doing, fellas?
We're doing great. So I guess I want to start off with an official statement from the club president about our watch party for Monday. For all you Miami Red Devils in the area that are listening, we're gonna see you on Monday. Where are we gonna see them on Monday, Carter?
Back at the place. We're going back to JohnMartin's for our Monday game. We're excited. We've got some cool stuff going on. It's nice. It's clean. It's close to a lot of people. Not you, Adam, which I apologize for. But
That's all right.
we got a lot of walkers, which is good. Yeah, it's exciting. Basically, it seems like it's going to be a good thing. So the first thing we need is for everybody to come out and so we can do our thing and show our numbers. God, it's annoying that the game's on Monday, right? Like it's like of course it is. It's like of course it's on a Monday just to make things as difficult as possible.
Yeah. It's cool for, it's Monday Night Football for the English, but for us, it's,
Mhm.
Monday afternoon, call
Yeah,
out
they
of
don't
work.
matter.
Yeah,
They might as well not exist to us because it's so.
that's right. G, you excited?
I'm excited, man. It was cool. John Martin's had some of the best times we had as a club, some of the best moments. I remember being at the game before the world ended and seeing that Scott McTominay goal and us all
Oh
going
yeah.
crazy talking about what we're going to do for St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
But John Martin's great bar, Miami institution. I think it's going to be great. Hopefully the partnership works out.
Yeah, it's exciting. So we're certainly going to be there for Monday, and for those of you that follow us and on the social media platforms and are in the Miami area, just stay tuned to the social media platforms for announcements about where we're going to be for each watch party. But like I said, John Martin's is going to be the spot, 253 Miracle Mile, Coral Gables, Florida, right there on Miracle Mile. Great spot, parking in the area, street parking, garages. So that's going to be it's gonna be a really fun time. Starts at the match starts at 3:00. Come a little early, introduce yourself, say hello, have a couple beers, have something to eat. It's gonna be a great time. All right, let's get into the season preview. We a lot of news happened today, and so I think we'll just kind of get to the news as we get to it without doing like a whole news segment. I think the best way to do this is to just go around from position to position and just talk about where we are at each position, outgoings and incomings, and how we feel about whether we're good in that spot or we want to upgrade. There's a little bit of time left there's a lot of time left in the transfer window. There's a little bit of money left in the kitty. And with outgoings, we might have a little bit more to spend. There will at least be one more incoming, maybe two. So let's talk about that. Would one of you guys like to just talk a little bit about I know we don't do a lot of like formation talk, but I think it might be just like a fun thing to just briefly talk about kind of what our formation is now and how it's kind of changed over the past couple of years, certainly in the Ten Hag era. One of you guys want to tackle that one?
I think the 4-3-3 is like consistent, right? There's only a little bit of difference between like the 4-2-3-1, right, and the 4-3-3, just depending on where that other midfielder is. Um, I like the 4-3-3 with Casemiro in the middle. It gives us that security. It lets us control the midfield more. Now with Mount being like a pressing midfielder, I really like that. I think I was watching videos on it like years ago, so I can't remember. Um, but he's not like he tried to change formations like at the beginning with us, and it didn't work out great. But I think that he also kind of messed with how Ajax played between their like really crazy Champions League run and the year after. But I don't remember what it changed from and to. But um, yeah, I like this one. Seems just a little bit more solid than what we were doing before. And that's always good for us because solidity was not necessarily the name of our game for a few years. So I like that, and um, yeah, it gives our center backs just a little bit of protection. Like,
Yeah, and so, when I was talking about dumbing it down, like, even more than that, just when we talk about 4-3-3, that the first number is defenders, second number is midfielders, and the third number is forwards. And so the 4-3-3 that and the difference between 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3, it's kind of a couple things, right? It's the double pivot versus and so what that means is kind of two defensive minded midfielders who were historically Scott McTominay and Fred.
Fred.
Yeah, the old McFred combo. And neither of them were naturally defensive minded midfielders, but I guess the idea was that together they could be at least one defensive minded midfielder. But now that we have Casemiro, who we can talk about whether we think he is like fully in season shape. It seems that we're able to send our other two midfielders, probably Mason Mount and Bruno, farther up. So that's the 4-3. That's the 3 of the 4-3-3.
And to do different jobs, right? Like the problem with Fred and McTominay always is that they like to get around, right? The idea with the dog like is that they were supposed to be holding and they would anchor and they would sit, and neither of them wanted to do that naturally, right? McTominay used to be a striker; he wants to get forward, and he wants to kind of, he wasn't the best at it, but he did have nice feet sometimes, and he wanted to get around people and go. And Fred was to press and press and press and press. But when you only have two midfielders that far back, that means both of them are out of position constantly. Where with the Casemiro one now, if we kept Fred, which we haven't, but Mount does that job now. Well, Mount can go and press, and then Bruno can go up and be creative. Where with the two, it's not as safe for that to happen.
Right. And that exposed what you were talking about McTominay and Fred playing too far up. That exposed our center backs, and it put a lot of mistakes at the feet of a particular non-pacey center back that used to be a Manchester United player named Harry Maguire, who we'll get to in a little bit. But I want to start off with you, and I think this we can talk a little bit about formation here also. But I think that it's a natural place to start at goalkeeper and talk about where we were and where we are now, and how you think that the goalkeeper position is going to change how Manchester United perform and what it looks like watching Manchester United play this season.
So yeah, where we were with David De Gea was pretty much just a goalkeeper that stayed in his box. Where we are now, we have two center forwards, and one of them is our goalkeeper, Andre Onana. He likes to fly all over the pitch. He's sweeper keeper by every sense of the word. He'll carry the ball out of the box, dribble it forward. He's going to be flying all over the place. And the preseason match, was it against Dortmund or where he got chipped because of a bad pass? That might happen sometimes. If our defenders don't take care of the ball and make good passes, we might be exposed because our goalkeeper is off his line being involved in play. He's always an option for a pass, whereas David really did not like the ball at his feet, would just clear it long. He's also really good with his arms. He can throw a pass. He can hit one off of the volley. Like, he's going to be an asset for sure going forward, and in relief, he's going to make you scream, no, 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 yes, 100 million times this season, but it's going to be a whirlwind for sure. And he changes the way we play. We can play with a little bit of a higher line because the goalkeeper will come out and clear things up. And that lets us be a little bit more forward. Whereas with David De Gea, everybody was sitting back. And even when our midfielder and our defense try to play with a higher line, we'd be exposed over the top. So I think this kind of solves a few of the problems. We'll be a little bit more fluid in our play. Licha, Lisandro Martinez is really good on the ball. Rafael Varane is not bad, not great, but not bad on the ball. So we have ball players all over the field now, including our goalkeeper. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talked about this a lot on this podcast about how much fun it's going to be to watch. and then starting to watch just the preseason games with Onana and then building out of the back, I was like, I regret everything. I do not like this feeling. This is not fun. This is like just killing me inside. So and you know, they were doing well. It wasn't like there was one or two bad moments where I think Delo made a mistake that led to the chip, and then Maguire made a mistake which led to a good Onana double save. But it was an immediate regret that I felt physically. I don't, it's not up here in my head. It's in my heart that I was just like, oh my God, this is so horrible to watch. Oh my God. But you know, we're gonna get used to it. Yeah, so Onana is gonna change everything. And we were talking about this on the other podcast, I think. And I was talking about it with you, Carter, a little bit about how everybody's going to judge De Gea, and like the internet's it's a hive, right? And everyone's going to judge De Gea versus Onana, and they're going to say, you know, De Gea wouldn't have been off his line, so he wouldn't get chipped there, and there are going to be times where Onana is going to go out to get across, and the internet talk, and there's gonna be a story in the Telegraph or Manchester Evening News that, you know, a whole thing about Onana going out to get across and gets beat and gives up a goal, and it's basically the silly reductionist thing where people are going to say De Gea, that mistake wouldn't have happened to De Gea, and that's why we only won 3-1, and it doesn't account for the counterfactual where maybe we wouldn't have scored 3 goals if De Gea was our keeper. And so do you see that as being like a through line in this season, as Onana's first season watching it?
Absolutely. It's all of it, right? But it's gonna be really funny because you're gonna get the pages, you're gonna get the meme pages that just talk so much shit about De Gea. And now that there's a comparison, they're gonna run wild with whatever. But like some of the people that feed into it are just like, dude, my friend's mom. Sorry, we're making soup. That's what the beeps are. If you could hear it. Um, but my friend's mom is always like, think
Well,
of
what I
like
mean, we're here. What kind of soup are we making?
clam chowder, and then I'm making baked potato later. Carla's asking you to leave her alone.
Okay. Well, I wasn't calling her out. I was just asking about the clam chowder. So is it we'll move on. Is it red or white?
Wait, I was about to say, yeah, is it Manhattan or New England style? This is the hard question.
White.
Okay, New England style.
We tried that. We tried the Manhattan one. Not my favorite thing in the world.
Not a Manhattan guy.
As a born New Yorker, the only thing New England has over us is clam chowder. It's way better than the Manhattan.
Really? I go Manhattan clam chowder.
Really?
Yeah. I'm more of like a red soup guy anyway, you know, over
red
a cream
soup,
sauce.
red meat, red wine, red ale.
Yeah.
Red Devil.
Red Devil.
Red jersey.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
right.
My friend used to say this thing where she would be like, think about the dumbest person you know. Like half the world is like dumber than that person you know.
Right.
You know, so it's like
that's good.
It's almost like, you know, it's almost like a waste of life. Yeah, they're gonna say stuff, and then there's gonna be racists, and then there's gonna be the people who are like, you know, there's the old men who are gonna be like, oh, this modern way of playing is garbage because we gave up, you know, however many goals. And again, the only thing, you know, I think that we just need to constantly check ourselves and say the only thing that matters is 3 points. So if our strikers can do what they do, we can always point to Liverpool, we can always point to City. Like, yeah, like Allison and Ederson make mistakes all the time, but if they win the league, who cares? You know, it's like
absolutely. All right, so I think that's good for goalkeeper. Carter, I want to stick with you as we go through the defense. Let's start at right back. Why don't you tell us kind of where we are now and whether we're much different than we were last season and what we expect out of that position this year?
I would say that we're, you know, we obviously we have the same players, but I think we talked about when we're talking about most improved player that Wan-Bissaka looks confident on the ball, and again, people are going to make fun of the way it looks when he does things, but he beats people all the time, you know, and his crossing isn't great, but it's not. Again, it's not comical like people try to make it out to be. You know, it's usually not that far off from a head or a foot. And Dalot improved defensively. So I think that if they can keep improving, which is basically just, I guess, just hard work and focus, and listening to your coaches, that it'll be an improvement because they showed that they can improve. I do think that that's a place we could upgrade. I don't think we're going to upgrade because I think it's a good balance too, right? You have the super, super defensive one that's okay at dribbling now, and you have the super offensive one who's a lot better at defending than he used to be. So I think that's good. I think we could upgrade there, but I don't think that it's going to happen. And it's not the most important place, especially since then you have a third option, right? You have Brandon Williams who can play both left and right,
Right.
and who was hurt last year, and he's a very he's kind of like a destructive player that's like going to get in their heads and he's going to be violent and aggressive. And I love that stuff. So people are like, yeah, I love that stuff. So that's a good third option for both the left and the right side.
Yeah, he seemed a little off the pace in preseason, and
Yeah.
I always root for him. I think he's kind of a fan favorite. He's like a fiery guy. He's come on a couple times and shown something. There's a great clip that I would play for you if I was more technically savvy, but he was on loan at Norwich and Christian Eriksen was at Brentford. And so, obviously Christian Eriksen died and came back to life. And then this was one of his Christian Eriksen's first matches back. So, and both of them are obviously on the same team now. So that's funny also. But Christian Eriksen kind of pulled down Brandon Williams from behind and they both tumbled to the ground and Brandon Williams went to punch Christian Eriksen, but then he didn't realize that it was Christian Eriksen, the guy that died and came back to life. So then he turned his punch into a hug and it was like the most awkward, hilarious thing ever. It was just like a great clip. So
if you guys haven't seen that, you gotta watch it. It's really funny. It's really cute. And it shows who like Brian Williams is as a player, and same with Eriksen. Like he goes to like really get he goes, oh, it's you.
Yeah.
It's really a good clip. You haven't seen it.
Yeah. So right back, I agree with everything you said. Gee, I'm curious to hear what you think about it too. But Wan-Bissaka, clearly Ten Hag didn't like Wan-Bissaka, didn't see him in action at all and wanted to sell him. And then since January, since the World Cup, and Dalot came back a little hurt, Wan-Bissaka was the number one choice. And now he seems like he has really earned that position. That Dalot kind of seems like the second option. And Dalot is like a hoss. He's a big guy. He's fast. He was clocked as one of the fastest Premier League players, one of the fastest Manchester United players. So Dalot's fast, but it does seem like a department where we kind of have two guys that maybe aren't clear Manchester United number ones, but they're both good enough that we're not gonna probably replace.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't mind keeping both of them. I like the competition aspect of it. I'm a Spider One guy. Like I love.
Hell yeah!
The
team bros.
It's fantastic, and he does his little silly step overs every once in a while. It's just fantastic. And I'm a defense guy, so like, well, I'm not. Me personally, but I love the defense aspect of his game. So I would start him. And Dello, I like his energy, but like they keep saying that he's the more offensive one, but he really doesn't get assists or anything. It's not his fault. We don't score off crosses or set pieces. So maybe this year, now that we have a number 9, after he comes off the injury list, maybe we will. But yeah, so whatever. We'll get to that eventually. But yeah, I would go Wan-Bissaka starting until he loses the right to have it. But yeah, that Brandon Williams clip is fantastic. It's like, man, he's about to punch him in the face. He's like, oh no,
Christian, I love you.
I love you. You're the man. And Christian's just laughing the whole time. It was great.
And their smiles are so big and like genuine. Like, because Christian Eriksen understands what's going on too, right? Because he's the one like fouling. So yeah, he gets it. But it's so good.
It's a great clip.
Well, Christian Eriksen knows in that moment that he's invincible now. It's like he can do whatever he wants because he almost died. So he knew he was invincible. I'm gonna throw just a couple flowers at Dalot. So he did have a couple goals last season. Wan-Bissaka did have 1 assist, but Dalot did have a couple of goals, including a header. He's like I said, he's big. He's probably 6'1" and very fast. He had a great curving goal in one of the preseason games. It probably earned
great goal.
Yeah, it was just like beautiful, great curve to it, right on the edge of the box. And then I this isn't like a look at me Louis moment, or maybe it is, but I got to watch him a little in preseason, and I was up in New York and got to go actually watch a training session, which was really fun. His like whole family was there, and I chatted with his family, made an ass of myself just a little bit by so his like I thought it was his wife. I knew they're expecting a kid, and she's clearly pregnant. So I was like, oh, I know that you're Diogo's wife. And she was like, well, girlfriend. I was like, oh, I just want to crawl into a hole and die. Just want to, because like a lot of these players do have girlfriends that are also expecting, and some of them get, like De Gea just got married. It's hard to keep track. Also, it's not something that a grown man should be keeping track. Like, I shouldn't be keeping track of player. It's the Instagram culture that I'm even like following these guys.
I follow all like the academy kids, and like they all have these like full like they they live like adults. So I'm like, wow, these are like 2 16-year-olds that are out in like Ibiza, this like Michelin starred restaurant, and they're just people, and that's creepy. Like like it's like I don't like to follow a lot of children on Instagram, but.
Yeah. All right. So enough embarrassing stories about us and the right backs at Manchester United. G, I want to move over to the center backs. Let's do like the whole unit, and maybe start us off with kind of the news of the day regarding former club captain Harry Maguire.
Who? Oh, you mean the West Ham United player? Yeah. He does play for England, doesn't he? No, it was sad it ended that way. Had a really good first season, probably the second best defender in the league behind Verge, and then it kind of went all down when the expectations started to go up. So, I think for him, a move to West Ham, a club like of that level, which is they struggled last year, but they're normally in the 8 to 12 range. I think that'll be good for him. He can use his skills, which is a little bit more on the back foot, not too much running in behind, more defensive minded, and just a fresh start, honestly. And West Ham has a really strong connection with English internationals. They always say that West Ham won the World Cup in '66, so I'm happy for him. Hopefully he gets him back on track. But staying at our club, the top two picks itself, Varane and Martinez, when they're healthy. I think it might be the best center back pairing in the country. Obviously, Man City plays with 6 center backs now, so they might have something to say about it. But as a 2, it's very, very good. Lindelof can come in. Luke Shaw can come play center back. We were talking about formations earlier. Don't be surprised if he tries to do more 3 at the back this year. I know he flirted with it for a little bit here and there this season. He loved it at Ajax. And then he did this weird thing with 3 in the back. And then Frankie played deeper than the defense sometimes. And then, so especially if we get Frankie, which I'm still praying for. But, so yeah, our center backs are solid. It would be great if we can bring in one. There's talks with the kid Todibo. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yep.
I would love Benjamin Pavard because he can play anywhere in the back line. He could even play midfield, and he's beautiful Frenchman. I think we always need to keep a beautiful Frenchman on our team. But so center back is not our problem anymore. Now that Harry Maguire is gone, he can never hurt us again. He can never hurt us again. But
well, he can when we play West Ham. That's going to be it.
I know, right?
He's scoring a goal.
He's
definitely scoring a goal.
We're definitely setting that up for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Pavard and Todibo, and there's another player, I can't remember who it was, but he seems to have fallen out as our kind of center back replacement. It does seem like it's one in, one out at this point. It's basically now that Harry Maguire has been sold, we have to find a center back replacement. Just only having 3 and then Luke Shaw filling in, that's probably not going to do it. We do have a little depth ish at left back, I guess. So we do have a couple options, and Carter, we can send it to you to talk about the left back position. But yeah, at this point, I think our center backs are going to be set, but it does seem like we're going to add at least one center back. Pavard's a little older. I've been doing this thing where I'm starting to fret, and we'll talk about this with the midfielders. I'm starting to fret about our window. Like our
Mhm.
window is like closing. So it's like next year, and we'll talk about league stuff later, but Casemiro and Bruno they are aging and our window is closing. So 10 is a hard, both of those positions are really hard to replace. And I feel like next year and the following year are really going to be like the prime years. And that has me like concerned. Pavard's younger. I think he's 25 or so. But that's kind of my general concern that we're going to have to like build younger or build good now and then to do another rebuild in 3 years, which I don't want. But a lot of talking from me. I want to get to left back. And Carter, why don't you walk us through who our left backs are, what our left back options are, and especially if we are going to end up seeing Luke Shaw every so often playing center back, filling in if we're light in that area.
Yeah, well, I think that as long as Varane is made out of glass, and so that's usually that's why typically Luke Shaw's move over. But last year, Martinez had the injury. But Lindelof, like if Lindelof can replace Varane, I'd rather Luke Shaw stay at left back. Malacia, because like I think that Luke Shaw might be, you know, like top certain number in the world left back. Um, for a bunch of reasons. But Malacia is like a good deputy, but he, you know, it's hard to speak on it until we see his improvement, right? Because he's young, and that was his first year away from, from the Netherlands, and he's kind of little, but he's fast, but he also seems to make some mistakes, but he can make up for some mistakes because he's fast. And he's obviously like a super hard worker. So he's like a good deputy. You just, you want to see the improvement, right? Because with a young player, that's all you can hope for. You're gonna accept the mistakes in the first year, et cetera, et cetera. Again, if Luke Shaw could play every single game and be good, then that's great. And then we have Brandon Williams way back there, just as another option if people get hurt or if Luke Shaw has to move over, Velocity has to come out of a game, instead of blah blah blah. I know, is it is it Fernandez or Gerardo, the
Alvaro
academy one,
Fernandez is the left
the
back
left
that's
back.
played a lot played a lot for us in the preseason. So
Yeah, and he's good. So that's like a future one. You were bringing up like young stuff and like the aging in the window. I think this academy group, as long as we don't do that thing where we just, we have all these good players right now, and they don't want, and these academies don't want to sit, and so we want to cash in, which I don't love. Um, they look at least competent enough to play against real opposition. So, I think that we have a few players that are set up to at least be able to deputize for some of these world class players that we have. Left back is like my most confident position probably, just
really,
because. Well, because I think how highly I rate Luke Shaw and then Malacia. We've seen him do a good job, and then we've got the other players like
yeah,
kind of waiting in the wings for pressure and for actual bodies being there. Um, I guess center back, but again, the thing with center back is the arrangement out of glass,
yeah.
and it's not that I still think that Lindelof is good, but it's Luke Shaw's also just a dependable dude usually in terms of fitness.
That's true. So, G, I forgot to ask you this when we were talking about Varane. So I don't know if you guys saw these comments. So Varane came out kind of on behalf of the Players Association, for lack of a better term. I don't know if that's what it's called, and basically came out against the FA's decision to so that one of the big, I guess the biggest rule change for this season is that to combat time wasting, referees are going to add truer time that was wasted during the match to the end of the matches. This happened in the World Cup in Qatar, and I loved it because it meant that, like, if your team was down or you're rooting for someone, there's going to be 11 minutes, 12 minutes at the end of the game. And it also really discouraged time wasting. It made it so that it wasn't valuable to waste time. You can catch your breath, but you're going to end up playing 12 minutes at the end of the match. Varane, who has had some fitness issues in the past, basically came out and said, we already play too much. The schedule is packed. We're playing 2 cup competitions. If we're in Europe, we're playing in Europe. And then we're also playing our Premier League schedule. And then we have international breaks, and he plays for France. And so he basically said
Well, he
that this is
retired
not
from
what.
France because of the over.
That's true. Yeah.
Because of this.
Yeah. So how do you feel about this battle between kind of the players that are saying the fixture schedule is too condensed and congested, and the people that are saying this is going to combat time wasting and it's going to be fun to watch more football?
So it's tough. I'm really conflicted in this. So I'm an English fan for the national team. And whenever they sucked at tournaments, they always blame that, oh, well, they play in the EPO. They're super tired at the end of the year. So I used to hate that excuse. But now seeing other players from other countries come and play in the EPO and like have these fitness problems towards the end of the year, so they're not on their best. And like, it's just a sad reality as the wages have gone up, the demands have gone up on the players. And it's a weird dichotomy of where like, do you feel bad? Do you not feel bad? Like, but it is. They play too much. And it's especially this last season when they try to squeeze in the Blood Money World Cup and the games were like literally every 3 days for a lot of teams, not just teams in Europe. It was tough. So I like it as a fan. More soccer is always better, but I can understand the players. And like, he's the perfect person to make this complaint because at Real Madrid, he played literally every single game when healthy. And he didn't really have an injury problem until like after he won the World Cup with France. Like, he played every game since he was basically 19. They were in every competition at that point. They won 3 Champions Leagues in a row. So he was playing 50, 60 games a year. And like, his body is just like broke down. And that's happening a lot and a lot more in sports, not just soccer, and all over. Like, people are getting injured way more. There's just way too much demand on their bodies. So I feel for them. There has to be a happy medium. It sucks as a fan because, you know, the extra 6 minutes of Fergie, now 10 Huggy time, I always like, but it is probably an unfair request on the players' behalf. Like, it's a lot of games. It's a lot of games.
Carter, what are your thoughts about the time wasting rules and what Varane has said?
Yeah, I hate time wasting, like all that stuff. Like if you're somebody who grew up with American sports, that shit gets really irritating. And it's like, and it's just like, how many times you waste time, and then it comes back and screws you because they added time, and that's when you lose the game, whatever. Um, I I like because so like a like the so for like an analogous situation is like those people who want to reduce the NBA schedule. And I'm on like people like Richard Jefferson side who used to play for people who don't know. And he was like, we're athletes. Like, we get paid for this. It's not easy, right? You're not supposed to be able to like do this and do other stuff. This is what we do. And I agree with him, but I also recognize the soccer's different where there's more competitions and you're not playing one season, you're playing a bunch of different things and it's travel and it's all that. Even though the travel can be not as bad as it is in America sometimes, which people are going to find out during the World Cup.
Yeah.
You can't just take a little train over to Texas. It's like
Yeah, they don't
cities are
understand
playing.
how big the country is.
Yeah,
It's funny.
they're gonna understand. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, what, you guys don't vacation and wherever. No, because that's like 10 hours away.
Yeah.
But it's 9 hours to get to Tallahassee from where we are.
Yeah.
The
stay in
top of the state.
Florida. Yeah.
But they in my head, what would make it better is right. Well, I think the subs thing was good. Like, I think the subs thing should go a long way in dealing with the fitness problems. And I know it didn't necessarily happen like that for us last year, but Ten Hag plays like the same people every single week. That's his decision.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be a player and you don't want to, tell it's an issue between your coach, right? That's kind of what it comes down to. And then I think, and it might not be good, and it might just be something that like is like a vindictive fan sometimes when like I sports hate people, and I'm like, well, referees should give more yellow cards. Like, your time wasting, yellow card, boom, and then don't be afraid to give that second yellow for time wasting, right?
So
Like I want like
That is part of the rule changes also, that
Mm.
they're supposedly gonna be disciplining with cards for time wasting as well. So that is true. Those are good points, Carter. The one thing that I like can't get over, which is something that's not familiar to American sports fans, is so like Manchester United went to the FA Cup final, they won the EFL Cup, and they went pretty deep in the Europa League, including because they came in second in the group, they had to play an extra 2 matches. So Manchester
Mhm.
United ended up playing 70 matches last season, which is almost an NBA season. And then compare that with I pulled up Bournemouth because I knew that they lost in the first round of the FA Cup. I didn't know what they did in the EFL Cup, and they weren't in Europe. So they played 3 matches in the EFL Cup. They played 1 match in the FA Cup, and then 38 matches in the Premier League. So it's 42 matches. Bournemouth played
Yeah.
42 matches last season. We played 70. And so
Yeah.
there's just like no compare, especially if you have a manager like Ten Hag who doesn't rotate at all. And so all of a sudden you're like trying to trot out Christian Eriksen, 50 times before he got hurt. No wonder that was basically his last season as a starter, because the guy almost died 3 years ago. And then you're trotting him out at the end of his career, basically in the midfield 50 times, which is still 8 more times than Bournemouth even played. So it's just a weird situation in European soccer where one team can play 38 more matches than another team, 28 more matches than another team.
Yeah, and typically that's what the coaches say, right? They're like,
You're
well,
gonna correct me, G. I saw those eyes. You're doing the math. I saw.
Matt's
so I
quick
mean, I
maths.
can't. But yeah, it's just the thing that coaches say. They're like, well, if you're going to compete for trophies, you're gonna deal with it, right? And but again, like I get what Farina is saying, and it's not like I disagree. It's just like it's time wasting is really irritating. So it's
Yeah,
almost like,
especially to American
well, stop
fans
doing it.
too.
And it's like,
Yeah,
well, stop doing it, and you won't get punished.
yeah,
Like, but
yeah.
it's not. I know it's not as simple as that. That's just like the angry sports fan like kind of mentality. But yeah,
All right, G. Let's have you start us off in the midfield. So we don't really know what's going on. We're at kind of a weird spot where, especially when we're talking about defensive midfield. So if you could walk us through kind of, we all know who our starting central defensive midfielder is, but there's a lot of chatter about maybe shaking up what our kind of deputies look like in the CDM category. And so why don't you start us off with our starter, how you feel about him, and then kind of break down what other replacements could look like for
Yeah,
a,
so
a
when he gets
deputy.
back from injury, Kobe Mino is going to be a great starter. No, I'm saying. I'm the president of the Kobe Mino supporters group, by the way. Casemiro, big game. Case is our defensive mid, top 3 defensive midfielders in the world still at his advantage. There's been talks about maybe signing a backup. Amrabat comes to mind. I don't really know if he's a defensive midfielder or kind of like a utility all around box to box type of guy, but he would be great for rotational purposes if we can bring him in. And then we got probably Mason Mount, our number 7, and Bruno rounding up the midfield with Ericsson probably our first off the bench. Fred just signed with Fenerbahce.
Yeah,
yeah,
Fenerbahce
So Fred is gone.
for £8 million.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
well,
it is.
the numbers should have been, yeah, we bought him for 50, right? And then the number 20 was floating around, which I thought was high, but 8 is low.
8 is low, but there's add-ons, so could be high as what 12. But anyway, yeah. So
do
Fred
we
is
know what the
gone.
add-ons are? It's like, so do we get like 5 more million if he keeps all of his shots within like the stadium?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
we're not going to get that then.
Yeah, we're not gonna get that for sure. So yeah, Fred's gone. McTominay is probably gone, which is very sad because I loved him as a rotational player. So, and then it's kind of a drop off after that. We got a bunch of kids coming through. I think we're gonna give Hannibal more opportunities.
Who I do
It'll
think
be
looks
like I
good.
said. Say what you said?
Oh, just who I do think looks good. He
Yeah,
looks
he
like he
looked
was
really good in
very
the preseason.
capable.
He looked really good in the preseason. He flies around. He not afraid of a tackle, which I like.
He tracked back, but he was playing advanced roles all preseason.
Yeah.
Mainu was playing sometimes in a 6 position, which isn't probably his best position. You and I, Gerard, talked about this a little bit. I'd like to talk about Kobe Mainu for a second. It's kind of funny because I
Because
feel
your
yeah.
negativity got him injured. Yeah, I know, it's hilarious.
So this is what I said. You asked me how I felt about Kobe Mainu, and this is what I said. I said his stuff at the academy is awesome. He flies around. He plays like everywhere, box to box. He plays 10. And then his first 2 preseason matches, he played 2 45s where he was playing as the holding midfielder. He was playing as a defensive midfielder. And I said when we dominated Leeds and then Lyon, I said I didn't get to see any of the fun stuff that Kobe Mainu does, that he does in the academy, because we were just dominating the game. So we were bypassing defensive midfielder and we were right into our attackers. But after that, I was at the Manchester United Arsenal game, and he was awesome. He set up their first goal. He was the one that got like the long ball from Heaton on the right wing, and he was great. And I think it's like so annoying to me when players get injured in the preseason. I know it's part of it. It's just like there's nothing worse. And Ten Hag was stricken by it. Like there was a report that he loves Kobe Mainu to madness, was the quote. And every single interview that Ten Hag, it's like Eric, what did you have for breakfast? Oh, the fact that Kobe Mainu isn't going to be play like that is just like that's just so you can tell.
Eric Ten Hag knows ball, and sadly, you didn't see that until you were there in person. But the rest of us saw it from the first preseason match. Nah, it sucks. The injuries are a part of the game. Yeah, I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. Injuries are part of the game, and he'll be back. He's young. He's going to be, I think, hopefully around for the next foreseeable future. He has a very bright future ahead of him. But yeah, we kind of all of a sudden need midfield reinforcement.
Yeah.
So a signing like Amrabat would be huge. There's small talks of Lavia. I don't think it's going to be possible, especially for the price that they want. But
I love that guy. I think he's great. Yeah. He's like he or Caicedo were like my top choices for defensive midfielder.
For sure, we're out on.
Yeah,
he's way too expensive. Lavia, it's going to pay me to see how well he plays for Liverpool. It's going to hurt. It's really going to hurt. I think that's where it's going to end up.
What happened? And I've been asking this for you. What happened to Wilfred Ndidi?
Like, Wilfred Ndidi decided to be bad at soccer. I don't know what happened. He kind of just, he's like, oh, I made it. People want me, and then fell off the cliff. But
it's so like he was like the second best defensive midfielder in the Premier League for like
it was Conte and then him, and then he fell off. But yeah, no. So our midfield is set for the most part. We need one more person, probably, hopefully. But weirdly enough, I think that is my least worried about area of the field.
I agree.
I love Bruno.
Yeah.
Him being the captain, I think, is gonna settle him down. He's not proving himself to be the captain anymore. He was the de facto captain last year with the Harry Maguire stuff. Now that he has the armband, I think this is when he really takes the next level of leadership up. So the managers put his faith in him. I'm going to put my faith in him. He gets outrageous numbers. Mason Mount is there. Yay. Woo. It's just, I see the 7 behind you with Eric Cantona, and then it's just Mason Mount. It's rough. But yeah, no, I think our midfield is going to be fine. The balance of Mount and Bruno actually does make sense if I look at it tactically and get my feelings out of it. But yeah, no, I think we're good to go.
Mount's another guy I think that it's hard to prove the counterfactual on, because he isn't going to be doing the things that you kind of expect from a star midfielder at a famous club. He is going to be working hard, tracking back fast. He's going to be pressing, and sometimes that's going to lead to goals, but he's not one that's going to be like packing the stat sheet with assists and sexy Bruno passes and crosses. So that's kind of a thing that I hope that we're all kind of like patient about, that we who watch the matches recognize his value and fight back against the hordes on the internet that are saying
You
like,
know who he's going to
oh,
be. You know who
Mason
he's going
Mount
to be.
60 million, whatever.
I bring this player up, and I mean this with all due respect, because you're wearing that jersey. He's going to be a very rich man's Tom Cleverley, in the sense that he's going to be all over the field. It's not going to look pretty. You're going to scoff at his name if you're a rival fan, but he's going to be vital for us, just like Tom Cleverley was in the last couple of years of Ferguson's reign. So that gingham jersey reminded me of Tom Cleverley, and that's kind of the profile of the player that we're gonna have. We've had a good legacy of busy midfielders running around with the
Archie
decent parts. Yeah, decent
Oh,
parts.
that's a good one.
Fletcher, even honestly.
Yeah.
You got the Andersons of the world. You got, some would argue, Nicky Butt, although I think he was way more skillful than people gave him credit for. So we've had good off the ball midfielders for a long time. They've never worn 7 before, but whatever. It's a new day, it's a new dawn. But yeah, I think Mason Mount will be a good play for us, even though I hate him.
Yeah. So we had we did have the chat. This is where I say I told you so. I said I bet when it turned out that he got the 7, we were, I think we started recording like right when he got announced as the 7. I think I said something like, this had to have come up in the negotiations. Like this must have been part of it. And then it came out like a couple days later that was part of the negotiations. And so it's like, you can kind of understand that if it's, now we kind of know in hindsight, or maybe we knew at the time, that his dad was a big Man United fan, and all he wanted was for Mason to wear that red shirt. And so, it seemed like he was trying to come no matter what.
as a kid.
Yeah.
I will. Here's one thing, and we can move on after this. I will give him credit. It takes balls to want to wear the Manchester United 7.
Yeah.
So if he's any as good as he thinks he is, he's going to be a good play for us.
Yeah. So, and we hardly even mentioned him. We've kind of talked about this off mic, but Christian Eriksen is still on the team. Christian Eriksen was like far and away our best starting midfielder after Bruno and before Casemiro signed, but he was like a clear starter and pinging passes in. If you watch the Arsenal home match, the Liverpool home match, Eriksen set up all those goals from all those games. He was just a magician in the like kind of deep lying midfield. And to me, it was jarring. And I get the injury and the, however 50 games he played before the injury. It is just so jarring to me how far he's fallen. Not as, you can never take away that skill, that positional sense, but he was a below average defensive midfielder at the beginning of our run last year, and like not at the end, and now he cannot play any defending in the midfield. He cannot defend, he can't track back, he can't put a tackle in, and it's like clear that Erik ten Hag went out and got a guy that would replace him, which I didn't even think was a thing that we necessarily needed to prioritize.
Listen, I love Eriksen. We all love Eriksen. Everybody loves Eriksen. He's the man. Even in his heyday before his complications, he was getting benched at Tottenham and other clubs because he had no legs. He was just, he's not as bad as to call him a luxury player, but if we don't have the ball, he gives you nothing. We're playing 10 on 11.
Absolutely.
And there will be games where he can start and be the best player on the field, probably. Like when we played Luton and when we played Sheffield, although maybe not Sheffield because they fly. But when we boss the ball and have 60-70% possession and Casemiro's chilling, start him by all means. Cup games, start him. He's going to be amazing for us.
Or bring him in if we're chasing a game. You can bring him in and he'll put a cross in and we'll 100%. Score.
But as a week in, week out, like he was killing it at, what was the club that we signed him from? Was it
Brentford?
Brentford.
Oh, Brentford.
He was killing at Brentford because Brentford was a mid-league, mid-table to lower table team.
Yeah.
That's his level if you want to play him every game.
And they were counterattack, there were a lot of counterattacking. So
Counterattack.
it wasn't like they were attacking and then defending. They're kind of sitting back and counterattacking.
Yeah.
And he's great at to your point, the Liverpool and Arsenal games were counterattacking wins. We were like betted in for a long time, and all those goals were counterattacking goals.
100%.
So
he's great on a quick turn, play it through. He's
yeah.
one of the 5 best in the world that can do that. But if we're up against it, I don't want him in a foxhole with me. You know what I'm saying? I love the guy, but we move.
All right. So Carter, I want to move over to our forwards. So I think we'll start at right wing. Interesting stuff at right wing. I think this is going to be kind of this is like a kind of a make it break it year for our number one in that spot, I think. And then, whatever, that Erik ten Hag is working up something interesting for our forwards just because of who they are, where they are, and what they're shaping up to be. So why don't you start us off with right wing and what you expect out of that position this season?
If Sancho can't fix his stupid problems, it's like all mental stuff. Like he takes too long. He doesn't put balls in. He'll cut back on the wrong foot and then not be able to do anything because he refuses to use his left foot. It's just like super frustrating. And obviously, like we know for a fact that he can get stuff done. It just seems like sometimes he chooses not to, which is weird and obviously not what's actually happening. But it seems that way when you watch him play, where he's like, "Oh no, I'm not going to do that. Like I could hit it with my right foot right away, but no, I'm going to cut back on my left, which I can't use. So I'm going to cut back on my right foot. Oh, and the ball's gone. He does it all the time. He does it in the box all the time. He's got a shot on. Right? It's all so frustrating because he works himself into good positions. Like he works hard offensively to get in good positions and to create space, and then he doesn't take advantage of it for whatever reason. And right, you have the idea it's being patient and waiting for an opening versus snatch the negative way you would say is like snatching at chances and all that. But you could also call it quick thinking and whatever happens, and it's just frustrating. And if he can't get more than 10 goal contributions this year, I mean it's like he's an expensive player. He's a young player again. He's still really young, but
Yeah.
for the he's not that young either. It's like he's young, but he's not that young. Where he's got to get more than 10 goal contributions this year. And I would say specifically 10 goal contributions like in the Premier League. I don't mean like over in all comps. I mean in the Premier League, he should, with his ability, have 10 goal contributions.
Well, this
is that high of a number.
Yeah, he's 2 years removed from this will be his third season after Dortmund, right? So at Dortmund, Sancho was lighting the world on fire. We spent a ton of money on him. He's on huge wages still. And so we have a lot invested in him. But we also, this just kind of seems like one of these positions that's going to be trouble for us because we also have Mason Greenwood who can play striker, but also plays as a right winger. And Lord knows what's going to happen with Mason Greenwood. By the time you're listening to this, an announcement might have happened. He's certainly going to be a Manchester United player this season, whether he's on loan,
whether he plays for us or plays for somebody else. Exactly.
Right. And so that's complicated. And then Antony is our other 80 million pound right winger.
Who also might go. I
was about to say, yeah. Carter, you zagged there when you started talking about Sancho. Yeah. I thought Adam was leading you up for a softball for Antony. But pretty much everything you said about Sancho applies to Antony. Like,
yeah,
we know he's going to cut in.
Except left foot mirror image.
Yeah, exactly. We know he's going to cut in. He's very good on the ball, but he kind of overdoes it every once in a while. Like, I think he got more stick from rival fans than he deserved, but he also wasn't worth the money that we paid last year. I think he will be better this year, and he learned the pace of the game in England. I think he'll be more disciplined. I think playing with an actual forward will also help his game, somebody to play off of. So, I mean, I think Antony is our day one starter on the right wing, but the fact that Carter even brought up Sancho, like, no, it's not a guarantee. Like,
I just happen to think of Sancho. Like I just think of I don't know. They're both so they have whole games, whole 90 minutes that are so ineffective that it's like, all right, well, which one do we want to try out today, right? And it's like, and we can't switch Rashford over because it's not as comfortable. He doesn't do. It's not like he's more creative on the right? It doesn't. That would be nice, but it doesn't seem that it ever works that way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We have about 4 guys who play better on the left wing,
That's the
and
problem.
yeah,
Sancho's one of them. I think Sancho's better on the left wing. They when we bought him, they said that he can play on the right, but honestly, he plays better on the left.
Yeah.
Which is where Rashford plays, which is where Martial should play if he's going to be a United player. But yeah, no. So
Garnacho.
Garnacho, obviously, the
No,
star boy.
Garnacho. Yeah, that. So this happened in the preseason, and we can just open this up to all the forwards and just kind of have a flowing conversation about it.
Palestri too.
Yeah, Palestri. He plays on the right, so Palestri is a guy, but and Amad Diallo is another one. So
yeah, who's
but
definitely your right.
both of those guys seem, like we watch them and they come on. Palestri especially comes on, and this happened a couple times last season. He comes on so fast, so creative, immediately
Direct too.
yeah, just like Garnacho. Garnacho's a little more physical, but they both run at their defenders and like good progressive carrying numbers. So, but it does seem that the guys in the know both think that Pellistri and Ahmad are not Manchester United Premier League quality yet. And I don't necessarily agree by, from my layman's eyes, Pellistri especially. Ahmad had a great season at Sunderland, and you can look at his clips. He was awesome. He almost got them promoted. Like it was the player of the season, almost got them promoted. But the people that are this comes from the club. These were like stories from the club that he doesn't. He had kind of similar or even a little worse numbers than Antony did in the championship versus in the Premier League, and Antony didn't have a great season. And so that's troublesome. We spent a lot of money on Ahmad. But getting back to the Sancho thing, you could see that Ten Hag was basically like, okay, you're not going to play on the left because Rashford he prefers play on the left and he's better on the left. And Garnacho,
and he's basically undroppable.
Yeah, and he's undroppable. And Garnacho is amazing, star boy. He's going to be should be wearing the 7, whatever. He's going to be wearing the 19 probably, and we'll see. But that guy is going to be amazing for Manchester United. So no room on the left for you, Sancho. Ten Hag, knowing that our weakest position is center forward, has been playing Sancho as kind of a false 9 at center forward, and he wasn't scoring goals, but he was creating goal scoring opportunities. And like I always say, if I could pay my bookie in XG and goal scoring opportunities that we didn't convert, I'd be a rich man, or at least not as poor of a man. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, like that, at some point you got to put the ball in the net. And I'm worried about Sancho, but like he's been working hard, and Ten Hag has clearly been working him hard at these positions. So I'm hopeful, but why don't we spend just a couple minutes talking about the signing du jour that we haven't even gotten to? I think it just got announced that he's going to be wearing the number 17 kit.
Yeah.
That Fred is gone.
Yeah, vacated by Fred.
Leland, Dollar Tree, Erling Holland.
Yeah.
No, I think he's
Aldi. Yeah.
I think he's gonna Aldi Holland. I think
Aldi Holland. Yeah.
Really, really good because he's fast. He gets him behind. He's direct. He's strong. He's young. He's a Viking. Everything we like about Holland, just probably a little bit less for now. Who knows? But yeah. Once he fixes his broken back, apparently we brought a player with a spinal injury, but in a couple of weeks when we actually get to see him play, I think he's going to be good because forwards like that seem to always work in the Premier League. Just big, strong, fast, physical guys.
Look at even people who aren't that quality, Mitrovic, and and then like historically, like Peter Crouch, and like
Yeah.
You know, I know that Lukaku is like the epitome of like a soulless mercenary.
But he bags goals.
I still think he's played well. Like,
Yeah, he
like
bags
that's
goals
all.
everywhere he goes.
Yeah. So I think that size is important. Again, I agree with G that, you know, and we talk about it all the time. You know, that Martial is not really down the middle center forward. I think just having one is gonna be good, and hopefully this isn't another Veghorst where he's 10 feet tall for nothing. You know, he
Yeah.
can't win anything in the air. You know, he can't figure out angles. You know, hopefully he's not like that. You know, and you know, it's you don't want to fall into the YouTube habit of like all the clips, but you know, there wasn't a lot of aerial stuff that we see in his goal contributions. But he is
It's
a
not how
pretty
Atalanta played. So that is
yeah,
like the
exactly. Yeah,
that's
it's like
part
the
of it.
YouTube thing, so you can't just look at little clips, but there's more context. But um, you know, he seems like he's a good passer, or at least he can at least see a pass. You know, it's not always the cleanest, but he can see a pass, and he seems excited. And you know, like we talked about a while ago, that you know we want players who want to play for us. That's always a huge thing.
Yeah.
Um,
He had a note when
and
he was, I don't know, 8 years old saying that like one of his life goals was playing for the Denmark national team and playing at Manchester United. So it's good to have kids like
yeah,
that.
and that stuff is always good. So you know, I'm
Yeah,
excited
check.
for him.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too. Gee,
Yeah,
what did I say on this podcast? I don't know, a few weeks ago about who our starting match day one season opener center forward would be. Who did I say? I think you said you would. It was either drown yourself in the ocean or shoot yourself. I didn't know what method what method of self violence that you chose.
I think it might have been walking to traffic.
Walking in traffic, yeah.
Walking to
that's
traffic.
it.
So Anthony Martial report came out today that he is healthy. He's recovered from his newest injury, and he's
Oh, he's
in team
healthy. We signed the forward and he's healthy.
and
Interesting.
he's in team training. And
For now.
I think I said I am that kid that is certain his dad is going to finally come to his little league game because it's the big game, and
Yes.
every time I get disappointed. Like
So yeah,
I am that
Adam,
guy.
you're new to the Miami Red Devils club relatively.
Yeah, only 5 years. Yeah,
So Anthony Martial's never coming back. He's he's not. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. So what I like to say about Anthony Martial
I can't
is,
wait for the I told you so in 1 week where he finally plays.
oh no, he's
Finally
gonna
play.
play, but he's not gonna be good. He can play 100 times. He's not gonna be good. He's never been
All
good. It's not a thing.
all I said was that he's going to be our opener match day one
Yeah,
starter.
that's cool. So you be proud of yourself for somehow predicting the fact that we would sign an injured forward. Congrats, bro. You did it. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, no. So the thing about Anthony Martial, which I told my boy West this, another Miami Red Devil member, he is from a foregone era of when we played with two forwards. So he is not a number 9. He thinks he's Ronaldo, but he's really Rivaldo, which is an off the ball forward who's really good at link up play. He's not going to score you 30 goals a year, but he's just going to do pretty stuff. But we don't play football like that anymore. It's so he's in a system that we do. You're either number 9 or you play off the wing. So, and he's good on that inside forward channel, cut in, do the quick little 1-2s around the corner, pretty stuff. So when he is effective, it looks really good, but it's not consistent at any point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
He's not a striker. He doesn't get like those poachers goals.
He thinks he is.
I don't know if he thinks he is. He does play he plays a lot in kind of a number 10 role and then never gets up all the way up the pitch. Like, you know, like Harry Kane does a lot of helping in the build up, but then he gets his ass up field and puts himself in a place to score. And Anthony Martial hangs out 15 yards out and hopes for like a ball to get to his feet. And so we score lots of pretty goals with him in the handful of seconds that he plays, but he's obviously terribly unreliable. So like, it's not even worth. We waste. It was just kind of funny to bring up because it does look like he's going to end up starting.
We might as well bring it up because he's going to be our starting forward on Monday. So
he could very well.
Format. Yeah, everybody wear your Martial jerseys on Monday.
Honestly, what I do think is going to end up happening is we're going to start with Rashford through the middle and maybe Sancho or Garnacho. Because even though he's training, I don't think he'll be ready and match fit. God
he'll at least injure himself in warm up. So
no, I don't want that.
Nobody wants that.
It's just want him to be hurt. I'm not Adam who wants Mano to be hurt. I want Martial to be healthy, just not at Manchester United.
The fact that even if I hated Kobe Manu, which I don't, I think he's great. I think he's great. The fact that it hurts Ten Hag so much that he's hurt hurts me so much that he's hurt.
There's only one person on this podcast that sometimes hopes players get hurt, and that's usually me. Yeah. And I'll accept that. Players who like Luis Suarez. If Luis Suarez could never walk again, I'd be fine.
Yeah, that guy's a monster.
Dealing with that. People like that. I do.
Why would you do that? Why would you do this? Why would you pick the worst type of human after I said I don't want people to get hurt? Why would you do that to me?
Yeah.
Yes, obviously I want him to break his ankle.
Yeah. Luis Suarez is the worst. And Carter, you don't go to the Inter Miami games. G and I go to the Inter Miami games. He's been heavily linked with Inter Miami.
I have seen that, and it's like,
that's trouble.
I don't care about Inter Miami.
Gee, what do you do? What do you do if he signs? Like, he's Messi's boy, right?
Listen, what I do is I wear my Inter Miami jersey, and I take my ass out of the North stands so I don't get into fights with people, and I sit my ass in my 118 seats.
That makes sense. So you're out of the supporter section
if we get Luis Suarez, I am out of the. We'll say that for our Inter Miami talk.
Yeah. That's the next pot. We're recording that podcast right after this one. All right, so I think we covered most of the guys. We talked a little bit about the left wing. We kind of skipped over, but obviously Rashford and Garnacho and Rashford will play as you said, like a little bit up the middle. I had never really even, we always know that Rashford plays better on the left, but he said it was so interesting hearing him say, by the way, if you haven't seen Carter, I don't know if you saw the Gary Neville interview.
The overlap. Oh, excellent.
Gary Neville's voice makes me want to put knives in my ears. So
you don't like the Manchester accent? You're a Manchester United fan. You don't like the Manchester.
But it's so high pitched.
It's him. It's not the. I think that Northern accents are really cool and sometimes really fun and funny to listen to.
Yeah.
But Gary Neville, there's something about Gary Neville, and maybe it's because of his punditry and how much of an idiot I think he can be. And I know, and I can be both aware that it's because they kind of, like Roy Keane did, they play characters on punditry. That's what the people who like it or want to bitch about it, they sign on to see that. I don't, like, I can recognize that, and also it still irritates me. So it's like, I've watched a few of the overlaps, but I can't take it anymore.
All right. I regret bringing it up for the digression. Anyway, very interesting just to hear Rashford chatting about his upbringing, how he likes to play. He seems like super relaxed and confident. And I love that he wasn't named captain. I think that like he's in such a zone for himself, and he's got buddies on the team. He's really tight with Malacia. Who else? And Sancho. Sancho, right?
Him and Malacia. I've seen them train in Portugal together. So weird.
Yeah, I think it was working out. Like Malacia is like a gym rat. He loves working out, and Rashford is like kind of all about, after coming back from injury, he was like really putting in extra hours in the gym. I think that's kind of where it started. I don't know how Sancho fits in there because that doesn't seem like Sancho's vibe, but the interesting thing that I wanted to mention that G, I think you and I talked about, was that he said that he much prefers playing on the left than playing up the middle. He said he'll do it, but he much prefers playing on the left. And it's interesting and candid to hear him saying that, but you don't love that if he's going to be like putting in a lot of time at center forward. The Hoyland injury seems a little bit overblown. It like came out, and like all of us were like heartbroken that he's got something that showed in his MRI that could lead to stress fracturing if it's in a younger player, which he's 20, but he's back in full team training, so probably won't start on Monday. Could come in, and I think they just said he's going to kind of be on a minutes restriction, not that he's like not going to be match fit for a little while. So I'm not too worried about it. Let's quickly we probably run about an hour now. I want to quickly go through. We've talked about a lot of this, but who we think that Manchester United's player of the year is going to be. We talked about kind of all the positions, from goalkeeper Onana up through Rashford and Hoyland. So, we're trying to talk about this, Carter, in a vacuum where it's like, who knows who gets injured, who knows who plays where, but just based on where these guys are, where they finished last season, what we saw in the preseason, and how we imagine them setting up, who do you think that Man United's player of the year is going to be?
If we can score goals, it should be Bruno, right? 119 chances created last year. If we can connect on those chances, I mean, it should be Bruno. He should be basically at least close to records with the way that it's so frustrating. The gambling website, I don't know, it was like a Premier League post, and they were like, these are the top 10 players, and they had Rashford, which I agree with, and they had Casemiro, and they had like Odegaard, and it's like they don't create nearly the volume of chances. And like, yes, I get it, goals and assists, but it's not always. I always refer to that Jorginho video of him just like pinging beautiful balls, and Morata just like not even aware that the ball was coming to him. It should be Bruno. If the same thing that's been happening since Bruno's been on the team, it'll probably be Casemiro. Or I would say Casemiro. I'd say it could be Rashford, but our stability is such a new and important thing that I still think we can look at Casemiro as player of the season.
G?
Marcus Rashford, MB. I think people who score goals usually get player of the year. I think he's up for another big season. I think he's going to benefit playing with a forward who's going to command a lot of attention. We're going to try to play to one side like we normally do, have him running behind, link up and whatnot. Maybe he doesn't get 30, maybe he gets 25, but I think he also picks his assist up, and he's a fan favorite. So I think he'll be the player of the season. Bruno, obviously, always a good shout. And a sneaky dark horse, the pun intended, Onana. I think he might really revolutionize the way the team play. I can only make that joke.
I didn't know what you were talking about. And you're like, oh, because he's black. Like that's and he's a horse. Yeah. So
a horse.
Yeah. I think the only other one that I think, if we're talking about like kind of trying to predict how we're gonna look tactically, I think Lisandro Martinez could be a really valuable guy this season. He's gonna often be like the last line of defense and a like center back that's pinging in balls up to the forward. So I think that we're gonna kind of show a lot of Lisandro Martinez, the midfielder, this season, which is, he was kind of chatted about as a potential option for filling in at CDM, and you see him on the ball and you see him playing passes. That guy's good. I'm introducing him as like what, like another dark horse. You can make whatever joke you want about his complexion. Maybe I can because he's whitish. So, but I think that Bruno would probably be if I was betting, I would say that Bruno, for the reasons that you said, Carter, and I anticipate we're gonna have a lot more of the ball. It's gonna be less of these 1-0 games, more 3-2 games, which is gonna be fun. All right, let's get to the score. Sometimes this goes hand in hand, sometimes it doesn't. But who do you think Man United's leading scorer is going to be this season? Really only two options, I think, for this one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Rashford, easy. Next.
Not Hoyland then.
No, even if he plays well, I still think that Rashford is he's got it seems like just from comparing them, he's just got that like special touch a little bit. You know, he can hit it from far. He has that thing where he creates his own luck, right?
Yeah.
So like, and he's so, but you know, I still think I just think that the way that we work the ball to the edges sometimes it's just it ends up at his feet and the runs, and so I think it's Rashford clear. I hope I'm wrong. I hope our striker can score goals, but I still think it's gonna be Rashford.
G. Martial.
Fuck off. So I'm gonna you're right, Carter. It's Rashford, but I'll just be on record and say Hoyland, and maybe he comes in and gets the ground running. That's what I'm hoping for. That'll be a hopeful pick.
All right. I'll be on record for Rashford as well.
Oh, how boring and safe.
I mean, if you another thing you can go back, you don't have to listen to Gary Neville. Like watch all of Rashford's goals this season. There's YouTube comps about him. That guy, he scored from outside the box. He scored by running through defenders. He scored by pushing defenders off him. He headed the ball. He had poachers goals that he scored on the right side. There, like he has a great one running through a couple players on the right. I think against Burnley, and he scored 1 million goals in cup competitions. Like may we go far in the FA Cup and EFL Cup again, so Rashford can have like all of these like just beautiful goals. He had a beautiful one off of that set piece that Ericsson, like right off the training ground goal,
Yeah,
near post. Just great stuff. So yeah, it's hard to pick anyone other than Rashford. Let's quickly do who we think is going to be the top four and who we think is getting relegated. So, G, why don't you start us off with who your top four? Where does Manchester United finish if they're not in your top four? And who else would round out the top four?
It hurts me to say this, but I don't have us winning the league. Not yet. I think this is our season to move up or improve. And we go again next year. I think next year we'll get in another great signing in the summer and really compete.
Yeah.
But as of right now, my top four in order: fourth, Arsenal Football Club; third, Manchester United; second, the resurgent Liverpool. I think they've had a really good window. Alex McAllister, the best Argentinian player in the world. And the addition by subtraction of Henderson and Milner, and Klopp is just an amazing manager. I'll stop saying good things about Liverpool now. I think they'll be second, and then the noisy neighbors. 4 in a row, never been done before, but until somebody beats them, it's safe money to pick them.
Carter?
Yeah, I say Liverpool fourth. Us third. I think that I think that it's going to look similar. I think Arsenal's going to be second. City's going to win the league. There is a little part of me that I think that Arsenal can push again and maybe win the league. But City goes from strength to strength, and Guardiola, it's just like, it's just like we've seen it happen. It's not hard to predict that, what's changed, right? They just get better and better and better and better, and they have the best player in the world. They've, in my opinion, the two best players in the world, but with KDB and Holland, and yeah, so
Better than
I think that
Kylian. Interesting.
Yeah, right. It's different, right? Like if there's the goals, it's KDB doing like all the little midfield things. But yeah, I think that, right. I don't know. It's a hard conversation. I mean, they might be tied really in my head,
Yeah,
but
two of the best players in the world for sure.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, City
Adam?
wins the league.
Yeah,
Adam, what do you
it's
say?
hard to say. Yeah, so I'm not doing this just to be controversial or whatever. I think we come in fourth. I'm really worried that we come in fifth this season. We're changing a lot of things, and it takes a while for a new goalkeeper to get bedded in. We did our transfer business early, but I am a little concerned
For
about
us, we did it early for
early
us.
for us. Yeah, excuse
Yeah.
me. You're that's a good correction. I am really concerned if you look at the issues with our squad since Sir Alex, but certainly last year is goal differential and goals for. Like we can't compete if we don't score goals. And we won so many matches last season by 1 goal. We didn't score 4 goals all season long. We won a lot of 1-0 games where we were hanging on for dear life for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And I don't know if that, we're obviously playing a completely different system. It's going to be open. We're going to concede more goals. We're going to score more goals. I think I'm bullish on Rasmus Højlund, but he is not an elite striker certainly not now. So I'm concerned about this year. So I have us in a tight race for fourth with Liverpool. I have Chelsea in third.
I knew you would.
Yeah, I like I
So
was
you think Pochettino's better than Ten Hag? Interesting.
no, I don't think Pochettino is better than Ten Hag. I think that their team is they've got more guys that are set up to succeed, and Ten Hag is at year 2 of this project, and he's completely made over this team.
Pochettino would be year 1.
Yeah, no, I'm saying Ten Hag is where Pochettino is like reclaiming stuff, and Ten Hag is starting kind of from the ground level with this newly formed squad. So as I said, the biggest thing for me is that I think that Chelsea are going to score. Chelsea have more scores, and we have. You don't think so?
No, I don't. They don't know who their forward is.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of them, and they've got a lot of guys that can.
They
that
don't
can,
though. They got a bunch of guys. They don't really have a bunch of forwards, and they don't have Tyler Adams, who I love. America. He's not the creative midfielder that they need.
They signed Tyler Adams.
They just signed Tyler Adams today.
Oh, Tyler Adams so bad. Not that I thought it was gonna happen, but
it would have been.
Actually, that would have been a very good signing for us. And also, since we're on the subject of signings, as we record this, Harry Kane agreed to a 4-year deal at Bayern Munich, which is very disappointing. I was hoping we could swoop in last second, but I digress. No, I don't think Chelsea has the squad that you think they do as far as firepower. I respect it. I think Pochettino is a great coach, so I think he's going to get them ticking. I think they'll put for top 6, but I don't see them jumping from 12th to 3rd. But sorry to cut you off.
No, it's I like Raheem Sterling. I like Lukaku. We'll see what happens with him. Yeah. He might move. I think they've got just like a lot of creative players. I'm just concerned about us, and I'd rather set myself up to not be as disappointed. And like you guys, I have one of you guys had Liverpool in second. I have Arsenal in second. Again, I think Declan Rice is great. I think he already has shown like lots of class in the preseason games that I watched. But regardless, glad we took him down, even though it was a preseason game. But another strong side, and Man City is they are unstoppable if they are anything like what they were last season, and they are gonna. And I think Pep's like the best. I wish, I think Ten Hag could be like Pep, but not yet. So
certainly balled and dressed as well. So
yeah.
So out of the 3 things.
I really have an issue with the turtlenecks. I think he looks like horrible in the turtlenecks. Because they're like the
one. I have a problem with Pep's stupid ass pants. The cargo
pants. Pep's pants are dumb. So Ten Hag has some like really good looks. He wears like the cap, the like chapeau when he's coming into the stadium. Looks badass. He wears these like I looked at the jacket, trying to get like the jackets he has with like little colored notches on it. It was like it's a Paul Smith blazer that's like $1,700. So it's like all right, not gonna be doing that to play dress up as Eric Ten Hag. So real quick before we say goodbye and say see you on Monday.
Who are we saying goodbye in the league to?
I love that. That's why I keep you around for these transitions. Who do we have getting relegated? Obviously, we have newcomers. Some names that might be familiar to us: Sheffield United and Burnley, and then some team that shouldn't be familiar to anyone, Luton Town, who had to have their first match postponed because they still haven't gotten their 8,000 seat stadium up to Premier League code with 10,000. I think they need 10,000, at least 10,000 seats that are safe for people to sit in, and VAR technology. So they like it, they are the dog that caught the car. They're like, they don't know what to do with the fact that they're in the Premier League. So who do we have? Those are the three teams that just came up. Who do we think are going down after this season? Carter, why don't you give us your three?
Luton, I think, go straight back down. I don't see them the way they play. I see them just getting dominated. It's I think there were other teams that are more prepared to go up, and and it's not like I love this stuff. Like I hope they stay up. Like, but that's I think that it's a cool story, and get to see Tahith Chong play. Um, but Luton go down, dude. I don't know what the deal is with Wolves. Like, I think that Wolves are going to go down, or at least they're going to be real close because they're like, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes there, and it must be concerning for the players that it seems like they're always in a mess.
Sorry, don't do this. We play them week 1.
I know.
Oh,
Don't do it.
yeah, I know, but I do think they go down. Oh, yeah, they don't have Ruben Neves, right? Did he move? He moved to Saudi.
Al Halal, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So at least we don't have him to punish us or punish me for my statement.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I don't think that Burnley goes straight back down. That's why I'm like, I think that Burnley stay up. Now I can't think of who was close. I don't know. I don't think I have a number 3 for you.
So Nottingham Forest were right on the edge last season. They stayed up. Everton were right on the edge last season. Bournemouth were also, they were certainly going to be relegated first.
I was gonna say I was gonna say Bournemouth, and then there's always something about Bournemouth. They're one of those weird teams, like when Sunderland was hanging on for like 10 years, and like they should have probably been relegated every time because something happens and they don't. But I'll say maybe it's because, just like the opposite of the Wolves statement, I'm manifesting. Boy, howdy, do I hope Everton get relegated. So I'm gonna say Everton, just to really, really speak it into existence. I hate Everton. I hate Pickford.
Not the enemy of my enemy.
I hate it.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no.
Oh, I love Everton because of that.
Enemy of my enemy.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I hate them. I cannot
up the
them.
Toffees.
I mean, I love them when I play Liverpool, but
who are you sending down, G?
Here's the problem. I agree with Wolves. I think they're done, and I'm glad that you said it first and jinxed them, and not me. But I think Wolves are down. Luton, it's an amazing story. I wish it wasn't the case, but I think they're down. And I think Sheffield United have decided to be a yo-yo club. I think they go down. Also, I think Everton does enough. I think Bournemouth does enough. I think Nottingham Forest are sneaky good. I think they're gonna push for mid-table. And then
Burnley is dancer really Anthony Alonga.
I mean,
enough said.
Amazing song. I'm gonna miss singing that.
Yeah,
but
that one's a good one. I'm gonna miss that. I miss the Cavani song a lot.
Oh,
Cavani. Give it to Eddie Cavani. Pass him the ball, then watch him score all the goals. So good.
all the ABBA joints
always
hit. Yeah, no. So those three, I think.
Yeah, so my wacky one is Wolverhampton Wanderers. That was gonna
Oh,
be
we're all in
my
agreement.
that was gonna be
We're so screwed on Monday.
Yes,
yeah,
we are.
we've
We're about to
completely
get
jinxed the team.
rocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't I just to kind of reset what's happened to them. They've basically had only outgoings. Julian Lopetegui came in to the club and had a couple good results when he came in. He was at Sevilla before. Is that right? Do I have that right? Um, we can someone fact check me while
He was
I
at
I
Real
have no,
Madrid for
I
about
have
a
no
week too.
yeah, and he's at Real
idea.
Madrid. Yeah, so he came in and the news story kind of came out that he was going to only be able to sign youth players, and then he got, and this all I'm sure came from his camp, and then that was at the end of last season, and then he was told, no, you can only sign free agents, we don't want youth players, we want to like compete for the middle of the table now. And then they told him you can't buy anyone, and so it sounds like he just quit like 2 days ago, and so they don't have a manager for week one. I mean, Gary O'Neill is going to be their acting manager week one, and they're a mess. They've only had outgoings, big ones. Ruben Neves, um, who's the Mexican striker that I hate,
Raul
Raul
Jimenez.
Jimenez.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
just signed
He's
with
gone.
Fulham. He signed with Fulham.
Oh,
yeah.
good for him.
Yeah.
Diego
Seriously, good for him.
Costa. There was another one. They had a center back that left also. So I think it's that's really problematic for them. Luton, I think they go down also. I think that Burnley go down.
Hmm.
Burnley play. They're not Burnley of old. They're not
They play
like
good.
they're not your
Vincent
grandfather.
Company.
Yeah, Vincent Company. They score a ton of goals uh, in the championship. I like kind of don't see it translating that well to the Premier League, but the guys on the American Red Devils podcast, they call Turf Moor where Burnley play Turf Mordor, because it's just like hell on earth, or Middle Earth as it were.
In the
um eh,
Midlands.
yeah, and so I I reckon that's like always been a tough place for us to play. It's just going to be like, I think it's just hard to imagine that high scoring offense translating well to the Premier League. I think that like a bedded in defensive team from the championship tends to perform better, but I don't, they're like Crystal Palace, I think have some issues. They're
Oh
losing
yeah, for
Zaha
sure.
and Olise, right? And
Is Elisa going?
I think that he's going to go. And then Fulham, I think, is in trouble also. Mitrovic was their everything last season, and they kind of fell off a cliff without him. So, and they lost my
Time for
guy
Daniel
Menor
James.
Solomon.
Or is he back at Leeds? He's back at Leeds. I was gonna make a Daniel James joke, but I think he's back at Leeds.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I love watching the relegation stuff, and I love watching the championship promotion stuff. It's like my favorite. We were getting into a fight on the WhatsApp chat about someone texted in the wrong chat about how much the MLS sucks, that it's like a made up league and there's no promotion relegation. And it's true, there's no promotion relegation. That is the
It's true.
coolest
It
thing.
sucks.
I wish that there was promotion. Obviously, never going to happen in any American sport, but that's like the coolest part about the about European soccer to me, is like promotion relegation. It makes everything so much cooler. Oh, I was going to ask you
Thanks.
something, G. And G, what did you get? What are we snacking on? What are we snacking on there?
Chips and guac, baby.
Chips and guac. I love that. All right. Let's again plug our Carter. Why don't you plug our Monday event?
Monday. John Martin's going back to where it pretty much all started for us. Uh, we need you there. Seriously, we need the people there. If not just have a good time, but we need I Miami. I'm sure everyone who listens, everyone who participates in the podcast, and your flakiest city in the world. This is not the day to be flaky. This is the day to support your team and to support your friends and come out. And what are we asking? Come get drunk, hang out, saying make a fool of ourselves, please come to the game and we can all have a great time together. And introduce yourself. If you haven't introduced yourself, we love meeting and seeing people. So please.
Well, I'm still working on getting the audio working right. I was gonna have you talk over it. So let's try again. Let's pretend like I did that right. Yeah, and you just like stopped. All right. You're saying like you're gonna come by. Hold on, let's try that again.
This is not like the inspirational speech music at all. This is like some 80s montage slow-mo stuff.
I'll cue you, Carter. 3, 2.
Come on, guys. We gotta come out to the game. We love seeing people. We love meeting. I don't know what you want me to do. I can beg. I can whatever. Come get drunk with us. Come eat. And we'll party. I'll cheer for United.
Absolutely. You've been listening to the Red Devils Advocate. This is the official podcast of Miami Red Devils. I'm Adam, joined every week by Carter, who created the music that you hear now. You heard it in the intro as well. We're also joined every week by this guy, Gerard G. Williams, longtime Man United supporter. Production assistance from Carla and Elizabeth. Thank you, everyone. Come on, United.
Come on, United.
Come on, United.